Welcome to Hoovie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube, and the history of my YouTube channel has not been kind to BMWs. If you saw my last video with the X5, you see my deep-seated bias against them came from being nearly ruined financially by a BMW X5 in college. And ever since, through owning a car dealership and everything else and losing my shirt on so many BMWs like this, I just don't have too many nice things to say about them because they break a lot and they could be put together a lot better, but this right here is me trying to be different. You all tell me to quit buying the junkiest BMWs that I can find from the worst generations and actually buy a good BMW. And this, considered by many, is one of the greatest BMWs ever made. It's a 2001 740i Sport, and it only has 81,000 miles, and it is in beautiful condition, and I bought it from a dealer who specializes in BMWs like these. And despite all of this car is still junk. Now, I am very fortunate to be staring at two absolutely beautiful luxury sedans in my garage. Facing right in front of me is my 2011 Aston Martin Rapide, which is probably the most beautiful sedan made in the last decade. And when you go way back to, say, the 1950s and 60s, there's probably Americans building those beautiful sedans. And then Mercedes came along in the late 60s, early 70s, built some beautiful stuff. And then probably Jaguar in the 70s and the mid 80s had some beautiful sedans, then the most beautiful sedans ever made. But the 90s was the time for BMW. And this, called the E38 chassis, is certainly one of the most beautiful sedans ever made, and it was the best looking BMW of the mid-90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Then they did the Bangle area with the big butt. I've owned many of those cars, and they are awful and they are ugly, but they sold way better than this 7 Series. It just makes zero sense, except BMW figured out what customers want, and that's a bunch of glitzy technology. The more useless technology and TV screens they can throw into a car, the more expensive it looks, and they sell more cars. But that isn't how BMW used to be. They used to be the ultimate driving machine. That was their mantra, and this certainly lives up to it. A short wheelbase, full-size sedan with the sport package, the sport suspension, and it is not only beautiful, but a great car to drive when sorted, at least from what I remember. Now, this BMW has a special place in my heart because my dad actually had one of these that he bought slightly used, and I wanted it. I wanted it so badly. I thought it was the coolest car ever, and it was the first BMW that I ever got to drive, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. His was black, but I really liked him in silver, so when I saw this one with only 81,000 miles, I just had to have it. These M-Parallel wheels are just gorgeous, and they're only 18 inches. Nowadays, 18 inches would be considered the poverty spec option with the car that you buy. Even in cheaper cars, 18 inches is considered small, but that kind of ruins the ride, in my opinion, because you get these really thin tires with these really big wheels. It just rides poorly. But this car is still a sporty, nice handling car, which we'll get to in a bit, but it's still a nice, comfortable BMW. And the shape of it, it's just perfect. This is automotive perfection right here from a styling standpoint. Before we go inside, I just have to show off the toolkit on this BMW. This is something that they don't do with cars anymore, and it's so nice. Look at this, a complete toolkit to do small jobs in your car if you get in a pinch, right down to some wrenches and some other things. There's the jack over here on this side. BMWs nowadays won't even give you a spare tire. They'll just give you some goo to inflate it with and a phone number to BMW roadside assistance. This is from a completely different era, as you'll see inside. Now, interior-wise, it is very, very different from the BMWs offered today. Technology is at a minimum. It just has barely what you need: memory seats, power windows. My favorite part is the seats, because you have the back adjustment and then you have the mid-back adjustment, which, why doesn't all cars have that? It's just awesome. Interior-wise, you have a basic satellite navigation system, dual-zone automatic climate control, a few buttons on the steering wheel, which is a 3-spoke M Sport steering wheel, and the gauges, they are basic, clean, simple gauges that look like BMWs from 20 years earlier. This is very conformed to the older classic BMW, and it is the last of the line. And look at the quality. Compared to the Alpina and the 760 that I just sent to the junkyard, this interior looks so much more expensive. It looks closer to what was in my Rolls-Royce Phantom than really anything else. The quality is just that good. It's so overbuilt, and that's what luxury used to be, was how well a car was built, how well it was put together, how well it looked. But then now nobody cares about that. They make BMWs ugly on purpose for some reason, and people still buy them because they throw all kinds of technology in them, and they lease cheaply. Now, many say this is the greatest 7 Series ever made, and I agree it is the prettiest 7 Series ever made, and it may be the greatest, but that's a pretty low bar because the quality of BMW 7 Series is really not that good. There are issues with these cars. Typical BMW problem, starting with this engine, a 4.4 liter V8 putting out around 290 horsepower. And with this engine, we have the beginning of BMW's engineering snafus, the mistakes they made, starting in the 90s with the cylinder linings, the Nikasil. It would degrade in the cylinder lining and the engine would lose compression and the car, well, wouldn't run right. When they fixed that, they decided to upgrade the timing chain to some system with plastic guides that degrades over time. And amazingly, this one hasn't had its timing chain guides done yet. It's still running on its originals as far as I know, based on the service records and based how the engine looks like it's never been apart, which is a small miracle. This may be the last one left on its original timing chain guides, which is a pretty big job on this car. From my experience, I know these ABS modules like to go bad, the transmissions like to go bad. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And with this BMW, even though it has only 80,000 miles on it, there are plenty of things that are broken with it. So I paid up for a nice example with very low miles from a reputable dealer that had service records. It has a clean Carfax. This is the best BMW you can buy, but I can already tell there's some pretty obvious things that are wrong with this car, but there'll probably be more because it's a BMW once we get to the car ninjas. But man, is it pretty. This is a car that may be worth putting some money into, maybe worth the headache, so we'll see. See if there's a timing chain rattle. Quiet this time. And one thing you'll notice with this car that kind of makes it special in my opinion is there's not one dead pixel in the gauge or in the climate control or in the original sat nav. It's all working perfectly. The check engine light, it comes and goes. It's off right now. And also, look at this. The original Motorola StarTech that came with this car. The wiring is kind of falling apart a little bit, but look at this. It works. It works. Obviously, it doesn't work, but it dials out. So this BMW is in very nice shape, only 81,000 miles. Everything seems to work, including the windows, which is kind of rare. Usually they've gone bad, but they must have been fixed, or they're still good, and cosmetically it is in beautiful condition, except for the headliners falling down a little bit, but that can be fixed. But that's where the nice things I have to say about this car ends, because when you start driving it, there's some really obvious issues, starting with the suspension. When I accelerate, it's like the rear end kind of shimmies. Not like it's losing traction, but that something's loose back there. Also, same with the front. I go over bumps, I make a turn, and there's a little bit of uneven surface. It makes a weird kind of unsettling clunk, and it just feels really loose on a car with 81,000 miles. But it is 20 years old, so I'll give it that. The check engine light is hiding right now, but it comes and goes, and of course, it's a BMW, so it is leaking. Leaking what I think is transmission fluid and maybe some oil. So we'll see what the Car Ninja has to say. Obviously, we're starting off with a much better car than the Alpina and the 760, and this thing wasn't all that much more expensive. It was like $3 grand more than both of those cars. So we'll see how I did. We'll see if this one's mechanically totaled at only 81,000 miles. I don't think so, but I'm sure there's still going to be a lot. What is going on here? Ninja! How dare you! You're cheating on me with another YouTuber. Sorry.
Hey man, BMWs have to get fixed. The thing about mine is, as soon as it's done, it's gonna run perfectly and forever.
You idiots.
Well, for 100,000 miles.
No, you couldn't be more wrong. I can tell you why this thing isn't gonna run right. First of all, the previous owner, that's and
beautiful.
There's a muffler.
This is solid titanium all the way to the front.
Well, you told me you bought this thing for whatever it was, $3 or $4 grand.
$3,000.
Oh, you fool! So you're doing rod bearings. It looks like you're almost done.
Yep. Didn't take long. The only thing was, as we were pulling it down, we found out the steering rack was bad.
And there was that line too for the SMG, not the SMG, the
line.
Vanos line.
Yeah, that comes with the kit actually. So we got that in there. So
You're gonna drive it hard for the first time because it's been in limp mode for all this, and the transmission's
No, I'm gonna break it in for 1,000 miles of gentle driving.
Why? I've already been here, done this. It's just, it's a mess. Johnny, can you pull off this person and look at my car, please?
Oh, I got this.
Be right back.
Thank you. You're helping. They don't want me to help. Wizard doesn't want me to help, and Johnny definitely doesn't want me to help. So not only is Johnny two-timing me, but he thinks I'm an incompetent fool. He's right. He's absolutely right. Do you want to see some real Bavarian excellence, John Ross?
Absolutely.
Come over here.
From the motherland.
Yes. What do you think, Johnny? You said you had one of these, right?
2.
You have 2 of these?
Yes.
So you love them.
Yes.
Greatest BMW ever?
My heart goes to E36 and 3.
Greatest
But
BMW
yeah,
ever.
this is my second one.
It's covered in oil.
Well, yeah. We knew that. 81,000 miles. And a pretty well taken care of 81,000 miles.
There you go.
What, was that a cover for the transmission?
Yes. Torque converter seal, very common on those.
Inside the torque converter. So does that have to come out?
Yes.
The transmission has to come out.
Yes.
Really? So what was your estimate to fix?
About 3,000, I think.
$3,000.
About what I paid for the car, honestly.
To sort out an M6 that was treated like garbage.
Somewhat neglected.
How many miles?
97,000.
97,000
How
miles.
many
So
miles are on
basically
this?
81.
Oh, well, you're right
Yeah.
by a little bit.
Okay, so this is your lower oil pan leaking a little bit.
Okay. I see goo here as well.
Power steering supply line. Drive belt, yeah.
That or you hit a flock of birds.
Okay. It looks gooey above it too. I don't think this one's ever had the timing chain guides done.
No.
Which is a ticking time bomb. But no coolant. Yes, the suspension feels weird.
Yeah, I felt it.
It's loose. Oh yeah, that one's a little... Oh. Yeah, that's quite a jiggle there. Yes. All right, lower control arm. That one feels okay, huh? The rear feels a little weird too.
There you go. Upper control arm right there. Man, this car looks amazing.
It does. It does. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful pile of junk, for sure. Yeah, it's
A little bit, yeah.
oily.
Timing covers.
Timing covers, and while you're doing that, you might as well do the chain guides, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what this code is. Quite a list. I have a feeling that the previous longtime owner of this car sold it right at the right time, right when they knew things were about to go south. Gear monitoring.
Yes. So it's slipping. You're low on fluid. That's all.
Okay. So that's a pretty good list. Transmission has to come out. Engine needs to be torn apart. You got other leaks. Oh, there's another thing I need you to look at.
Sure.
I need you to fix this. Because this is stuck out and quite annoying. Needs to roll up again.
We'll take it apart and see.
Cool. Well, you got quite a list then. Yes.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. So how much was it to fix your trash M6 again?
Clearly eating right now.
Sorry. How much?
It was $3,000. I can't hold up 3 fingers.
Okay, 3,000. So Johnny, the best BMW 7 Series ever made, the finest example. It's,
You ready for it?
I'm ready, yes.
How ready are you?
I'm fine, hand it to me. Can't be worse than a Lambo. So, okay. Math. $5,500! Why?
So much wrong with it.
I guess the transmission has to come out, the engine has to come out. Well, not out, but everything in front of it. Oh my goodness. The suspension stuff? $5,500?
I did not include the shade too. I'll take care of it.
Oh, you'll do the shade for free. You're so kind. So a trashed M6 is a better car than a mint E38.
For now.
Is that what we're saying?
It's a better car anyway. I've got 2 more cylinders.
Thank you for watching. Really?